So this is practice problem number 3 for chapter 19. And in this exercise, we're going to prepare the cost of goods manufactured schedule and compute the gross profit. So that's number 1 and number 2. So as you can see here in the middle of this screen, we have the company's beginning and ending balances for the inventory accounts, specifically for raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. And then right below that, we have the activities that occurred throughout the period that consist of raw material purchases, the direct materials and labor that were used, and then the applied overhead, and also the sales that were generated for the sale of the products within a manufacturing company. So I like to take this on a step-by-step basis when it comes to preparing a schedule of cost of goods manufactured. So all of the data is here, except for a couple of things. But again, by me actually illustrating this on a step-by-step basis, we will be able to figure out what the missing piece is. So kind of like a plug-in. So in order to prepare a schedule of cost of goods manufactured, the first thing we need to go to is raw materials. So it's going to be some little mini steps within number 1 that we're going to be taking. So the first thing, we got to focus on raw materials. And as you can see here for raw materials, we're given our beginning balance, ending balance, and also from the raw materials, the direct materials that were used. So here's how I like to set it up. First thing I'm going to do is put in raw, or start off with raw materials, comma, beginning, because this is going to be the beginning balance, and that's going to be $18,020. So we started off with $18,020. Next thing I'm going to do is plug in the raw materials that were purchased. So the raw materials that were purchased was $8,100. So I'm going to put in raw materials that were purchased throughout the period. And that's going to be a plus $8,100. So when we take $18,020 added to $8,100, that gives us $26,120. This is our raw materials that are available. For use, okay? Now, we're provided our ending balance for raw materials, but out of what's available for use, they already give us the number. It gives us a direct materials used of $14,120. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract $14,120 from the $26,120, and that's going to be our direct materials used. And so the ending raw materials balance, it should be $12 or $12,000, excuse me, because $12,000 is what they provided to us. So if we take $26,120 subtracted from $14,120, that's going to give us our $12,000. And that's our ending balance for raw materials. All right. So we didn't really need to set this up this way. We didn't really have to set up the raw materials, I guess you can call it schedule, up like this, just because they already give us all of the amounts. I just want to prepare this raw materials, I want to say schedule up, so that way you can understand the movements from the beginning of the raw materials to the end of the raw materials amounts, how that all works. Okay, so for number 2, we are going to now focus on the work in process. So we already worked on raw materials. Now we're going to focus on the work in process. So there's some things we need to do with the work in process balances from beginning into the end. So we're going to start off with work in process beginning. So I'm going to abbreviate it as WIP, work in process, comma, beginning. And I'm just going to plug in the beginning balance that they provide to us, which is $9,400. Excuse me. From there, I'm going to now add direct materials used. Okay, direct materials that are used is the $14,120, and this will be an addition to the WIP or work in process account. Okay, so whatever is being used in direct materials, it gets eliminated from the raw materials inventory account and it gets transferred over to the work in process inventory account. Okay, next we're going to go ahead and add the direct materials. No, not direct materials. Excuse me. Direct labor used. Okay, and that's the $9,200. So we're going to also add $9,200 to the work in process account. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and add the overhead that's applied. Okay, the overhead that's applied is $11,040. Okay, so the total amount as of right now is going to be, if we total out the direct materials and labor that's used plus the overhead that's applied with the beginning work in process account, that gives us $43,760. Right? So now here's the plug-in that I was talking about, and this is what's going to answer or give us the answer for number one, which is preparing the schedule of cost of goods manufactured. So we need to know what the cost of goods manufactured is going to be. So from here, they provide us with the ending work in process balance of $11,200. So all I'm going to do is go ahead and put that as a subtraction, $11,200, because we're trying to get to our cost of goods manufactured. All right, so I'm going to put on here, this is the work in process ending. And when we take the $43,760, subtract it from the $11,200, that's going to give us $32,560. This right here, this amount, this is our cost of goods manufactured. So this is the amount for number one. Now, number one tells us to prepare a schedule of cost of goods manufactured. This is the schedule here. Okay. The schedule can be laid out differently, but I wanted to provide the schedule this way so that way you understand how to even get to cost of goods manufactured from start to finish. And it's in this order. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is number two. It says compute gross profit. All right. So this is also a step-by-step approach that we need to take. Now, if I zoom in here to the actual exercise, now we are going to focus on the finished goods beginning balances and ending balances. So finished goods inventory. So the finished goods inventory account is equivalent to the inventory account that you see underneath the asset section in the balance sheet. So everything eventually gets rolled up or transferred to finished goods inventory once it's in its finishing, condition or, ready to be sold to customers. So we're going to take the finished goods inventory beginning balance. And let's see, it is going to be $12,460. And we're going to add the cost of goods that's manufactured. And where's that at? That amount? It's right here. We calculated it already. So it's $32,560. So I'm just going to bring that over here right underneath the finished goods inventory beginning balance. So 32,560. Okay, so the cost of goods that's available for sale comes out to be $45,020. And I'll go ahead and put it on here on the left-hand side. Cost of goods available for sale. All right. So the next thing we need to do is figure out what our cost of goods sold is going to be, because we need to figure out what the gross profit is. So they give us our sale of 40,000. Let me zoom in so you can see better. They give us the sales revenue, because this is a revenue of $40,000. We need to figure out what the gross profit is. And in order to determine that, we need to take our sales revenue and subtract out the cost of goods sold to get to gross profit. So with this schedule here for the finished goods inventory account, in order for us to get to the cost of goods sold, we're going to now subtract the ending balance that's reflected in the finished goods inventory account of $86.30. So we're going to subtract $8,630, and that's going to be our finished goods inventory ending balance to get to our cost of goods sold, which is going to be, well, first I'm going to put cost of goods sold, so we understand that this is going to be the cost of goods sold amount, and it comes out to be $36,390. All right. So we scroll back over here to the exercise. To compute the gross profit, we're going to take this 40,000 right here of sales revenue. Okay, 40,000 of sales revenue. Subtract out the cost of goods sold of $36,390. Our gross profit is going to be $3,610.